My name is Manika Saha. Recently, I finished my PhD in the Action Lab at Monash University, Australia. Before starting my PhD, I worked as a public health practitioner for international development in Bangladesh. This is one of my PhD research and my first Chi paper, which has been co-authored with my incredible research team. Let me briefly talk about the background and research problem for this study. Every year, billions of dollars are spent on international development projects to improve marginalized people's lives. Despite spending billions of dollars of investment, international development projects fail to achieve effective and sustainable development for these people. International development project conducts citizen engagement using traditional mechanisms such as quantitative surveys, qualitative interviews, and focus groups to engage local communities for needs assessment in program and research development. For instance, participatory rural appraisal (PRA) has been widely used to engage local and marginalized communities in identifying challenges and suggestions for developmental programs and research projects. However, these traditional approaches have problematic top-down hierarchical designs and associated with power dynamics. Within these power structures, participants tend to respond to outsiders according to what they believe the outsiders desire to hear, and these are often documented in monitoring evaluation practices, including community stories to satisfy donors. Moreover, for many, especially marginalized communities, presenting quantitative and text-based qualitative data to communities is meaningless as many community members have limited education and cannot interpret the presented data or understand how it could help them. In our paper, we argue that instead of simply being used to share end data with the decision makers, an authentic voice should be included within program design and decision making for development. Within this broader goal, this research explores the first step, focusing on how a structured PV method such as our story can provide agency to disadvantaged communities to share their needs and priorities, capture and edit their stories, and produce data that is in a form that can be used in the program development process. Voice in ICT for development is closely linked to participatory media approaches, such as participatory video or PV. This is actually a long tradition of using PV in international development, although usually this means hiring a PV specialist to fly in and make videos with a community for an NGO. While previous PV work highlights many development opportunities for community-generated voice, including education, training, sharing information, monitoring and evaluation, there is little work that can guide practitioners and HCI for development researchers on how a structured process can bring disadvantaged communities' rich voices into project design. We conducted our initial exploration of participatory video creation by communities of women farmers in rural Bangladesh. Our PV activities lasted 3 days through a community-level workshop with 26 women farmers. We divided them into 3 groups. We had 4 broader themes to engage our participants, including agriculture, health and nutrition, gender issues, and uses of technology-related needs, challenges, and priorities. As you can see here, we adapted the participatory media methodology used in our story developed by Bartindale et al. Our story process consists of 6 stages that I'm going to briefly talk about in my next slides. Our story approach starts with familiarization and ideation, where women come up with ideas and issues from the given 4 topics and prioritize their issues for capturing videos. Next comes the prototyping and capturing stages, where women planned what they are going to talk about and take videos, and then they recorded their videos, whatever they planned and thought important in their daily lives. Then the next step was reviewing and editing, where participants decided what footage will be kept for creating their final grouped videos. And finally, playback to the community, where the women and other members of the community came together to watch and listen to what they had created. Were analyzed following a thematic analysis. During the video capturing stage, participants traveled around almost the whole village community to capture their videos. Participants presented nuanced details about their social position, political views, and cultural and environmental context. The captured footage of their village, where and how they live, and their surroundings provide us rich information and visual insights into the demographic and social and economic conditions of the participants' community. Participants also pointed to extrinsic, actual, and intrinsic drivers to their lived experience, such as they talked about early marriage, including the social attitudes and expectations of the women in the community, and share the impacts on their health and well-being. Throughout our fieldwork, we observed subtle mechanisms used to build stronger bonds within the community. This trust building began through our communication with the community and ensuring opportunities to start dialogue and interaction to express their needs, challenges, and experiences. We found that community engagement through the PV methodology gives participants agency to shape their dialogue and interaction, creating an emancipatory environment in which they can share their views in their own way. Participants claimed agency at each stage of PV production, from capturing and sharing challenges, needs and priorities, stories, experiences, visual backgrounds, videos, analyzing and editing to creating the final videos without any external influence. Moreover, our participants not only shared their needs, challenges, and priorities, they also made recommendations and requested the changes they wanted to see. This agency and decision-making power also provide them with a sense of accountability to share their exact needs, challenges, and priorities on the given topics. The final videos were only based on the clips they chose, hence trust was built as they edited and analyzed their data by themselves and for themselves. We also found participants were enthusiastic and deeply engaged with PV activities and showed a sense of pride in the videos that they were making. Participants shared their reflections on how they felt, relating that they enjoyed the whole PV making process. We suggest capturing disadvantaged community voices through a well-structured participatory media production process can lead to having more authentic and representative insights as community data for the development program designs for practitioners, decision makers, and researchers who work in the Global South and who also work for the disadvantaged communities. We also shared some design opportunities within international development by sharing our views on how a structured PV could be used for better informing international program development and implementation, including incorporating community voices into existing project commissioning process for monitoring and evaluation to strengthen and validate other evidence-based data. We also shared some design opportunities within international development by sharing our views on how a structured PV could be used for better informing international program development and implementation, including incorporating community voices into existing the project commissioning process for monitoring evaluation to strengthen and validate other evidence-based data. We also discussed some design considerations to include PV in international project development by working further on designing to capture metadata and improve the PV process by adding a prioritization step and designing for facilitators' roles, privacy, and security, among others. The impact of our work is to ensure that marginalized community voices can be heard and taken into account for effective and sustainable project development, thus to ultimately bridge the gap and ensure no one left behind. Thank you for listening.